rehabilitated, and real entertaining. This is the Carl Jackson Podcast.
Welcome to the Carl Jackson Show podcast on this Monday. I hope that you had a great weekend. This is the place where you get your daily dose of objective truth in a world of lies. Guys, please be sure to help me out, help out my sponsor, mypillow.com. There right now, they still have this Percale bed sheet that's on special, and it's only available until it lasts. For example, you can get the queen set for $89 or what? Well, it normally sells for $89.98. You can get it, however, for $39.98, and all you have to do is use my promo code, and that's Carl. You can call 1-800-858-0263. That's 1-800-858-0263. Use that promo code Carl, C-A-R-L, the only right way to spell it, by the way. And you can take advantage of those deals and any deals that you see on mypillow.com. Also, just click on, if you prefer to do a search the website, mypillow.com. You can go to the Radio Listeners Square. Use that promo code Carl, Radio Listener Square. Use the promo code Carl. Just use my name, and those same deals apply to you guys. Support this company, mypillow.com. Mike Lindell is a great patriot fighting for election integrity, fighting for all of our freedom, and also providing American jobs, American manufacturing. Help them out, mypillow.com, Radio Listener Square, promo code Carl, or call 800-858-0263. You know where to find me online, any social media outlets, The Carl Jackson Show. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please subscribe to Rumble as well. And all you have to do is search for The Carl Jackson Show and rate and review those shows. And anywhere podcasts are found, Apple, Google, Spotify as well. You can go to the SalemPodcastNetwork.com. You can go to TheCarlJacksonShow.com. But please subscribe, rate, and review. That'll help us out greatly. Okay, now let's get into the program for today. There were some very interesting articles that have popped up, and I'll keep you abreast of any news that might pop up, even during the podcast. I know this is kind of weird because this isn't what podcasts do, but if you listen to this podcast daily, and I hope you do, if there's some breaking news, I want to be able to share it with you. I'm a radio guy first, and then I've come into the podcast world. So I'm trying to adapt. I'm trying to learn as I go. And so hopefully you will be patient with me in doing that. There's three stories that I want to bring to you today. One that particularly struck my heart, and it just kills me because it's frustrating, because I know what's happening is this: the left is trying to get all of us to conform and to control all of us by using some of their big topic issues. One being man-made, quote unquote, climate change or global warming. And we'll talk about that because the muscle cars, they're trying to bring muscle cars to an abrupt end. Actually, they're being very successful at it, pressuring these companies to bring their muscle cars, their gas fueled muscle cars to an abrupt end, and they're all going the EV route. I'm very upset by this. I'm very perturbed by it. I think a lot of conservatives just kind of acquiesce to it and like, hey, these are the times that we're live in. This is where we're headed. That's not Americana, and I want to explain that to you. Even if you like EVs, I have no problem with people liking electrical vehicles. No big deal to me whatsoever. What I hate, however, is the left and those that pretend that you're saving the environment by driving electrical vehicles when nothing could be further from the truth. They're much dirtier than fuel or gasoline-driven vehicles. They run clean while they're on the road. However, all of the mining and the material required for the batteries, they're just doing so much damage to the environment. It's not even funny. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But the biggest thing is they're getting rid of the Dodge Charger, the Dodge Challenger. Those are the latest to get canceled here. And they're going to go to an EV version. We'll talk about that and what it means for you and I, because I think it's really, really, really important. But first, there's a couple of stories that I want to get to real quickly. First off, guys, beware of this story. If you see this, make sure you... All right, let me just share the story with you because I don't even know how to frame this. Hat tip Breitbart. Texas woman poisoned by touching a napkin that was stuck on her car door handle. All I can say is this. We are living in crazy, crazy times. We're living in dark times. We are living in evil times. And I think the pandemic lockdowns, not the pandemic, but the pandemic lockdowns have exacerbated evil. I think people that were perhaps on the fringe have gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Violence has erupted across the country in numbers like we've not seen in God knows how long. And so just a bunch of craziness and evil still tends to be happening. We've seen the violence that has soared in blue cities, particularly across the country. So just be mindful. So this is the latest. A Texas woman was poisoned again by touching a napkin stuck in a car door handle. I'm curious if any of you have ever heard a story like this. I had not. The story goes on to say, a Texas suspect, and this is again happened in Houston, Texas. A Texas suspect. Texas suspects she was poisoned by touching a napkin that was stuffed in her car's door handle. This outside of a Houston restaurant. Doctors agreed that she had been poisoned, but they weren't able to identify the toxin. The lady's name is Erin Mims of Houston, Texas. She joined her husband at a Houston area restaurant to celebrate her birthday. This happened last Tuesday afternoon. She left the restaurant. She noticed a napkin that was stuck in the passenger side door handle of her car. And then she pulled the napkin out of the car, out of the door, opened it to get into the car. And then once she got in, she asked her husband, hey, did you leave this napkin outside of my door handle? And he said, no, I guess in bewilderment. So Mims decided, which I think was probably played a part in the fact that she's alive today. I don't know this by fact, but I suspect it to be true. She ran back inside of the restaurant immediately and proceeded to wash her hands thoroughly before getting back into the car. But once she re-entered the car, now I hope she wiped off the doorknob and all that stuff. Maybe she didn't, because I suspect the poison, the toxin, whatever it was completely over the door handle as well. But a few minutes later, she began to feel a tingling sensation in her arm, she says. Then she says, maybe 5 minutes later, my whole arm, and I'm quoting, started tingling and feeling numb. I couldn't breathe, close quote, she said. She says, I started getting hot flashes. My chest was hurting. My heart was beating really fast, quote unquote. And then Mim's husband quickly took her off to the hospital. Doctors assessed her and tried to determine what substance was used to create the numbness and other symptoms in her body. Her vital signs jumped off the charts, she said. And here's another quote. The doctor came in and told me it wasn't enough in my system to determine what it was, but said it was acute poisoning from an unknown substance, close quote. The doctor told her that maybe somebody was trying to kidnap her. Now, I don't know if I agree with that. Maybe that's true, but I'm assuming if somebody watched you go into a restaurant, perhaps, I'm assuming, I don't know, into a restaurant with your husband, I don't think they'd be trying to kidnap you, which leads me to believe this is just some odd, random, crazy, evil crap. I don't know, but maybe the doctor is right on time. Maybe there's been cases where, maybe kidnapping is profound in Houston, Texas. I don't know. And any methods are used to do just that. The Houston Police Department, this is the ironic thing, and the Drug Enforcement Agency said that they hadn't seen such a type of an attack before. So it was really odd for them. And then, unfortunately, her symptoms match up with a bunch of different toxins that could cause the very symptoms that she had, but her chest was beating out. It's almost as if she was going into cardiac arrest. So thank God she got into the hospital as quickly as they did. She and her husband. Now, Mims did post this experience on social media, and once she posted that experience on social media, it went viral. And there were several people that responded and said the same thing that had happened to them. So people, please, 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 please. I just thought that this was one of those stories I wanted to tell you about, because we are just living in crazy, crazy and evil times. So if any of you experience this or see this, please, please, please do not touch your freaking car door. If someone puts a napkin on it, I don't know, maybe call the cops, call someone out to take a look, unless you have some type of large pole or tongs or something you can remove it with. And then I would proceed with like a thorough rinse down of my vehicle. as soon as I got home. And of course, wiping off the door handles and making sure you're using gloves and the whole nine. We're just living in crazy times, and you just never know. So that story just stood out to me. So I just wanted to share that with you. Another thing, are you guys aware? I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this. Gabe, you might not be aware of this, but the Biden administration gave you a $100 raise. Did you know that, Gabe? You didn't hear about that, huh? All right. So apparently the Biden administration has given all of us a $100 raise. Carl, really? I don't remember getting that $100 raise. No, of course you don't, because it's not happened. But here's what has been happening, and here's what the White House is trying to say. So basically, the White House thinks that we're stupid. They said they sent out a memo. In case you missed it, America just got a $100 a month raise. Now, this was parroted by CNN. CNN had the same title for a headline that they had written on their on their website. So they mentioned how next time you stop at a gas station, think of it as a $100 a month tax cut. All right. Or maybe a $100 a month raise. This both the White House and CNN. So you see how CNN and the White House are working in cahoots. How anyone could think that CNN has any fair journalist. I mean, by the way, bye-bye, Brian Stelter. Brian Stelter is gone. I think that they need to clean house, quite frankly. But that's just me. I think a lot of people will land on their feet. Perhaps they'll decide to be journalists again. I don't think that until CNN gets rid of Jim Acosta and Don Lemon, I just don't think they're a fair news organization. Now, if Jim Acosta and CNN and Don Lemon come out and say straight up, hey, guys, we are straight up leftists, and that's the news that you're going to get from our peer view. It's coming from a left-wing angle, so on. So be it. Right. You've got Fox News has Tucker Carlson, obviously leans to the right. Sean Hannity is blatantly open about his conservatism. The same is true for Laura Ingraham. But these are people, when you turn into their programs, you know exactly where they stand. Jesse Waters, Dan Bongino, the same. You know exactly where these people stand. So if CNN is going to keep hosts like Jim Acosta, if they are going to keep hosts like Don Lemon, and then I think those people need to be telling people the truth. Hey, guys, I'm reporting this news, but this is commentary here. This isn't really this is an opinion show. In other words, is what they need to be saying. But again, CNN in bed with the White House to try to spread propaganda, telling Americans, hey, you got a $100 raise. And obviously, this is the old decrepit Biden trying to look good before the national elections, the midterm elections take place this November, trying to prove that he's done something for the American people, while all the while he's trying to destroy the economy and rip it out from underneath our feet. But for some reason, they're scared enough, I guess, just because we're going into the midterms, obviously that's the reason, that they want to pretend like they're doing something good for you. So they're patting themselves on the back and say, hey, man, the gas prices. Actually, let me just finish reading. It says, next time you stop at a gas station, think of it as a $100 a month tax cut, or maybe a $100 a month raise. And then CNN goes on to say that, quote, half of the gas stations in the nation are charging less than the national average, and 28% of the 130,000 gas stations tracked by OPIS are now charging less than $350 a gallon. Okay. So I guess they're performing Common Core. There was a great piece in PJ Media written by Gwendolyn Sims who totally clowns this gaslighting. And that's exactly what the Biden administration and CNN is doing. They're trying to say that you got a $100 a month raise, when in actuality, as Ted Cruz pointed out on his Twitter account, we are still paying on average 65% more than we were paying the day that Biden took office. Not to mention, when they talk about half of the gas stations averaging $3.50, well, sometimes it feels like $300, but anyway, averaging $3.50 a gallon. This is straight up Common Core math. Where's the other half? The truth is, when you combine the other half, you're still looking at averages of up to $4 a gallon, or close to $4 a gallon, $3.92, or some of the numbers that I'm looking at in California. You're still looking at averages of $5.33 per gallon. But this is what the Biden administration is doing, completely gaslighting you. Keep in mind, they're taking oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Also, gas prices are lower because fewer people are driving because they can't afford Biden inflation. They're spending far too much money on their groceries right now and just trying to survive and get back and forth to work. So a bunch of gaslighting and the White House in cahoots with the with CNN just tells you all you need to know about the White House. They think we're stupid, and CNN, who also thinks we're stupid, and they're not real journalists. All right, so let's stop pretending like CNN is credible. I know with the new clean out, so to speak, or cleaning it out, Chris Licht. So far, listen. CNN is CNN until I see otherwise. Until I see a different product. CNN is CNN. They've hired a bunch of leftists there. And it's their prerogative to do so. But if you're going to be a leftist, if you're going to lean towards the left, you need to be open and honest with your administration. But right now, this is despicable to me because you have a news organization that is working in cahoots with the White House to totally gaslight the American people. So, guys, if you feel like you've gotten a $100 raise, a $100 a month raise from the Biden administration, you're probably voting Democrat. Everyone else with a modicum of common sense knows that this isn't the case. And it's sick and disgusting that they would do that. And especially in a crisis when people are hurting. But the Biden administration is so desperate to try to look good before the elections. And really, they aren't doing anything about it. There's no new drilling going on federal land leases. There's no incentives to do so. Keystone XL pipeline isn't being reopened or any of that good stuff. So these people are completely gaslighting us, and it is sick. Okay, now, before I get to the story that I really want to talk about today, I just want to remind you, please go to my social media pages and like them and follow me at anywhere that I am on social media. The Carl Jackson Show on social media. That's Facebook, that's Twitter, that's Instagram, that's Getter, that's True Social. Wherever I am, The Carl Jackson Show. Also, please subscribe to this podcast. You can do so on thecarljacksonshow.com, SalemPodcastNetwork.com. YouTube, really want to build up the following on YouTube, on Rumble. If you would subscribe to those places and rate and review them, that would be great. Anywhere that you might be listening, Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, so on, etc. Please rate, review, like, and share them. That would mean a lot. And I really appreciate it, guys. I really do appreciate it. I'm humbled every time I get to sit in front of this microphone, but it will help us move up the charts, just being blunt and honest with you, if you rate, review, like, and share, and help us get the word out while we spread objective truth in this world of lies. All right, now here's the thing that I really wanted to get to today, and I think this is extremely important, and it's the reason why we're titling this podcast "Killing Americana," because that's really what it is. When you think about the great muscle cars of America, just think back to your childhood. Now, I had the privilege. Of growing up in California when it was, just a beautiful state. And I think it was governed. I wasn't paying attention to politics really in the 80s and very early 90s. But for the most part, I grew up in the hood, but you could go to places and escape places where you just felt like, man, if I ever make it out of the hood, I want to live here. I go back and visit California now and I'm like, ew. I can't wait to get out of here. But one of the cool things, if you've never been to California, and I can't say that it's, actually I can. If you've never been to California, when it comes to, I'm speaking of cars, I'm speaking of automobiles at this point in time, there is such a, you grow up for a love of, with a love for classic cars, classic Americana, even gangsters there. All right. So there's a big, there's just like a cult following. Chevy Impalas, Chevy pickup trucks, older Fords, you name it. You could drive on the roads of California and you could see cars that where I come to, once I moved to Florida, you just didn't see anymore. But in California, they exist. All over the place. They may not be in the best condition, but they're there. Just easy to find. Old classics driving on the road. Some beat up. You might see Chevy Novas. You'll see Chevy Impalas. You name it. You think of a muscle car, you think of an Americana, you'll see it on the road being driven casually in California. And again, they might not be show car material, but you will find them on the road in California. That's not necessarily the case here in Florida, where I live. You might see some here and there, but it was just big. It was huge. And I took it for granted because you just saw cars like this all the time. I think someone gave my dad, I believe I can't remember if it was a Dodge Dart or a Dodge Duster. Anyway, it was in great shape, a muscle car. That thing had plenty of power. When we were younger, we were kind of embarrassed of it, myself and my brothers. But then I saw the exact same car, exact same color. Sell at Mecum Auto Auctions. Now, it was in pristine condition, but I got to tell you, the car that someone gave my dad painted a house I can't remember if it was Hollywood or Beverly Hills. They gave him a car, one of their old cars, and it was in pristine condition. My dad ended up selling it. Oh, crazy. I saw it on Mecum Auto Auction, the same color, the same paint job, and it ended up going for $60,000. Unfreaking believable. We didn't know. We were embarrassed to have that car as kids. Man, I'd love to have it today. It was so crazy. But killing Americana and getting rid of the muscle car is really about getting rid of the American experience. Make no mistake about it. That's what this is about. EVs, you know what EVs are about? Obviously, I said at the top of the show, it's conformity and control, but it's also globalism. That's what it's about. America isn't any different. America isn't exceptional whatsoever. It's all about globalism. So Joe Biden has become easily the worst president in American history, surpassing Jimmy Carter, in my opinion. You got inflation. You got, the social malaise. You got high gas and food prices. You got a weakened military. We look weak on the international stage. And then what do Dems continue to do? Democrats, they continue to do what they've been wanting to do all along, and that is kill Americana. They want to kill anything, intentionally kill anything that has vestiges of Americana or American independence. That's what their goal is. America isn't exceptional. Remember Barack Obama said, I can't remember who questioned him or what the event was, but he said in response to a question, is America exceptional? And I'm paraphrasing. He said, well, I think it's exceptional in the same way that, France thinks their country is exceptional or whatever other countries he named. And I'm like, no, this is a president that doesn't get it or just despises America. America is exceptional because we have a government that rules from the bottom up, not the top down. And this is the difference. This is what makes America exceptional. But because Barack Obama wanted to be a little dictator, he didn't think of America as exceptional. He bought into the nonsense that America is systemically racist. And we're seeing the fruits of his labor in the Biden administration as well. Again, I'll tell you, I don't think people give enough credit to Barack Obama for destroying this country, for making us mad at each other again, dividing us, re-implementing racism when I think we had clearly, as America, had grown past racism in America. That isn't to say, I'm not naive, that isn't to say there aren't some racist people. There will always be racist people until we get to heaven. But for the most part, America, there was no one stopping you from achieving any of the American dream because of your because of your skin color anymore. But again, what the left wants to do is anything that's Americana, anything that has stood out, anything that has made America feel free and exceptional, they want to get rid of. The muscle car is one of those things. Why? Because the muscle car projected strength and it also projected freedom. Getting out on the open road, going where you want to go, driving as fast and, having a car as powerful as you want. This is all Americana. It's the you're not the boss of me mentality. And that's what the left wants to get rid of because they want to be the boss of you. This is exactly who the left is. I loved classic cars growing up. Going to car shows and, my dad pointing out cars. We had a neighbor, Mr. Manuel, this Mexican guy who had, this nice, I can't even remember what it was. I don't know if it was a Buick. Can't remember if it was a Buick or a Cadillac. That thing was nice and clean and sweet. He just kept it really nice. Or Another lady next door, Miss Wolf, she just had this old Ford, but it was clean, tip-top condition, mint condition. She was older, so she never really drove it. But seeing those cars, they were like, man, that's cool. So we grew up experiencing and liking some of the modern cars that were coming up, but always liking classics and American classics because someone near us always had one or we always saw them on the road. Now, VW obviously is an American classic, but that's another thing. You would see the souped up VW bugs all over the place in California. So just a love for cars in general, but particularly American muscle cars that I really grew up loving. And I always wanted to have, my dream is to one day own a 67 Pontiac GTO. I'd also like a Chevy Impala, maybe a 1959 Chevy Impala. I like the wheel well. Look from behind, or maybe a 63 or 64 Chevy Impala, just hooked up. I like that lowrider look, growing up in LA. So these are things that were just cool to me. But I think that the Biden administration, along with the Obama administration, gets a bunch of credit for helping to destroy Americana and independence. Remember the cash for clunkers thing? I really think that was a goal for people to get rid of not just high emission cars, but American cars, old school American cars, cars that you can go and shop for parts and all that kind of stuff that were on the road. They wanted to get rid of them, incentivize people to get rid of them, destroy cars. It's just unbelievable what that administration did. So basically, the goal is to force Americans into EVs. That's the goal. Now, EVs, again, I'll reiterate, aren't better for the environment than fossil fuel cars. Fossil fuel cars, given the lifespan that people typically drive them, I think it's somewhere from 7 to 10 years, will do less damage to the environment than any EV car will, because of the way they have to mine for their batteries. Not to mention how much coal is required in order for them to charge their batteries. So these things don't run clean. It is a facade. But if you can convince people the sky is falling, and you're a bad person because you consume or you use fossil fuels, then what'll happen? They'll go to these people start driving EVs if they can afford them. And that's what's happened on our college campuses and on some of our local schools, K through 12. These kids are being taught how we're destroying the environment from a young age. So obviously they'll grow up wanting to get rid of fossil fuel cars. So it's up to you and I, people like you and I that love America, that love exceptionalism. I just want the free market to prevail. I hate this, that they're forcing us into EVs when they're not safer from the environment, or when it's not a lie. So the resulting or the mounting pressure from, these politicians basically is causing, whether it's fuel emission standards, where it's constantly pumping out this lie, how these cars are damaging the environment and EVs won't do it. And the rising fuel costs you have now, Dodge is saying, okay, we're going to get rid of the Challenger. So rising fuel costs, pressure from politicians, regulations from politicians. Okay, these companies are no longer incentivized to build the muscle car that guzzles gas, right? So they want to go EV. So they're going to help destroy the environment by using EVs, and they're going to pat themselves on the back and pretend like they're doing a great job for the environment when they can't. Now, here's part of the pressure campaign. This is astonishing. I didn't know this, but Dodge was charged from their parent company that's ironically in Europe. I had no idea, but their parent company is in Europe. They were being charged $360 million a year just to sell Dodge cars in Europe as part of their, a carbon offsets deal. So right off the bat, Dodge has to pay in Europe $360 million to, I guess, the government of the UK. Absolutely insane. So when you have mounting political pressure like that, you're going to bend the knee. And that's exactly what Dodge is doing, getting rid of the Challenger and Charger. Now, they're set to have new models come out in 2024 of the Challenger and Charger. But man, it just sucks. It just sucks. This is... There are a couple of experiences that I want to share with you, and why I say this is getting rid of Americana, and this is getting rid of the American spirit that's all about freedom and the free market. Like, again, I don't care if you like EVs. I just want the option to choose as an American, particularly when I know people are lying to me about the environment. But I can recall in LA, at I don't know what it's called, but the Metro Rail in Los Angeles when it first opened up. I can recall walking to the Metro Rail. I believe it was myself and one of my brothers. I can't remember, and it was jam packed. You know, it was a Long Beach station, if I recall correctly. I mean, just jam packed. People all over the place wanting to ride that thing and get on it and experience it, and we were, you know, and we did so as well, you know, and then we took a little trip on it. I can't remember how far along the route we went or any of that stuff, but it, you know, it was interesting. It was fun. Now, maybe a month, maybe two later, I rode it again, but this time I rode it to go to stay with my brother and sister-in-law in Moreno Valley. There was a stop somewhere nearby where they were going to pick me up, and I was going to stay the night or the weekend with them. When I got on that train the next time, I was it was fewer than 10 people. It was fewer than 10 people. I couldn't believe it. I was a kid. I didn't really understand it, but I was in shock. I was just like, with every stop, I was like, surely 1,000 people are about to get on this bad boy. It never happened. From Los Angeles, or I'm sure it was Long Beach at the time, up towards Moreno Valley. You could count the number of people on both of your hands that got on that train. And so just in a matter of a couple of months or so, if that, I went from seeing thousands of people lined up to ride that thing to maybe 10. And that tells you all you need to know. Americans are independent. Right now, unless you grow up in a town like New York, where it's densely populated, you know, but small, and it's difficult to get around. It's easier to take the subway. You know, that's a different story. But these metro rails aren't built for everyone. They built one here, Sunrail, and they want to keep funding it. Nobody rides the thing. But they keep funding it. Local government keeps funding it. It's unbelievable to me. But all of this is about getting rid of the American experience that is freedom. People love freedom. And what I witnessed with that Metro Rail is thousands of people said, you know what, this is fun, this is interesting, this is exciting, but there's nothing like getting on the road with my own car, driving down the road at the speed that I want, changing lanes when I want, going where I want to go. This car, my car, represents independence. The Metro Rail can never, ever duplicate that. Now, EVs can, but EVs are very expensive, and they come with a lie. There should be a warning. You buy one of these vehicles, you will continue to do damage to the environment, even more so than fossil fuels. But listen, still, I believe people should have the choice to choose, but I hate that we are forcing people into EVs. And so now you have these muscle cars that are going bye-bye. Yeah, I would have loved to have had one, but could you imagine what they're going to cost? The gasoline-driven vehicles are probably going to become instantaneous classics in that sense. Their prices are going to soar like no one's business. I have someone that I know that owns a Ferrari, a late model Ferrari, and I don't own one. All right, I can't afford that thing, but this person just bought it a few years ago, and it's one of their the last or the last model for Ferrari that either was or is going to be built as far as, you know, using your typical gasoline. And so it's doubled in value since this person purchased it. And he said he bought it for an investment because he knew Ferrari was going to, creating EVs. So it's just crazy. Also, public charging availability. This is the scam with EVs. Not only are they not clean, but you're going to have to charge them using electricity, which runs on coal energy. All right. So it's just a scam. But not only that, we don't have the infrastructure to be able to handle this. If everyone were to transfer to EVs right away, which that's mathematically impossible to do. But if everyone were to do it, we wouldn't even have the charging capability. We would shut down our grid. This is absolutely insane. But this is where we're going, because where the left is concerned, again, this isn't even about a transition from fossil fuel vehicles to the internal combustion engine to EVs. That's not what it's about. It's about control. It is about control. It is about getting rid of that American can-do-it mentality. Also consider this. And I'll wrap this thing up. Back in the day, a father used to be able to get under the hood of a car and work with his son. Can you do that today? With the cars that they're building today, even the ones with internal combustion engines, they've made them so difficult to work on that you have to find some type of mechanic. Man, when you just think back of what the left has done, how they've destroyed America, how they've destroyed the American family, or have attempted to, it's insidious. It's evil, in my opinion. There was a woman that recently wrote a column in the Wall Street Journal. Her name is Rachel Wolf, and she detailed what it was like to make a round trip from New Orleans to Chicago. And it was a complete and utter disaster. She had rented an EV, everything from the driving range to the quality and the locations of the charging stations. She said were basically far from optimal. They were pretty much a nightmare. Some of the stations that are rated as level 2 will take upwards of 8 hours of unplanned charging times. So you think you're going to drive from New Orleans to Chicago? No problem. No, it doesn't take any time whatsoever. Oh, did you consider this 8-hour pit stop that you have to, where you're going to need to charge this EV? It's absolutely insane. And that's what it'll be like if we were to go completely EV. Again, this is about control. This is about conformity. It's about getting rid of, when you talk about abolishing the muscle car, when you talk about getting rid of the gas-driven vehicle, this is about abolishing Americana, making you conform, even if you don't buy into the narrative that EVs are saving the planet somehow. It doesn't matter. They're going to force you to conform anyway. Guys, help me fight this fight. I got to tell you, I know I'm just a little peon. Yeah, I'll be blunt with you. I don't know where to start. But I think this is one of the biggest lies and biggest threats to get rid of Americana. This man-made climate change initiative, narrative that the left has set. Because if they can control your health, if they can control energy, they can keep you mad with identity politics, you're going to listen to the left as they continue to take us further and further and further away from a top to bottom government where you put them in charge and you trust them. This is this is hard for me. I'm not going to lie. I'm one of these, I guess I'm somewhat young, but I'm one of these old school guys where I don't want to see the internal combustion engine go bye-bye. I don't want to see the muscle car go bye-bye, because when they go bye-bye, so has Americana. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Again, please subscribe to the podcast everywhere podcasts are found: Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble. I really want to build up on those 2 places. If you will follow me there, you can check out the video, see what I look like when I'm doing the show. I really would appreciate that. Also, everywhere that I am on social media, the Carl Jackson Show. And again, don't forget to go to mypillow.com. Take advantage of the specials at mypillow.com. Click on that radio listener square and put in the promo code Carl, my name, CARL, or give them a call if you prefer, 800-858-0263. 800-858-0263. Remember to use that promo code Carl. And also that applies. You can use that promo code with any deal across the spectrum at mypillow.com. So not only do you get to support this podcast, you get to support Mike Lindell, an American patriot. You get to benefit yourself by getting some great product, some great American-made product, and you benefit the employees that work at MyPillow, right? By helping to keep American jobs intact and in place, and American manufacturing in place. So guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. And until next time, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you.